Welcome back to Hope Lodge, Nebraska, as we are in the middle of our Creighton versus Cancer Pinkout broadcast today, cancer.org/pinkout. Of course, the reason why this place exists, there are so many people from out of town who have to come to the bigger cities where the great research and hospitals are to get their treatment. Unfortunately, for some of them, those treatments are repetitive. They're very close to each other, and it's not easy to go back and forth to home. And so places like this exist, and there's Hope Lodges all across the country where people can stay so that they are very close to their primary treatment, and they can do so at very minimal expense because it is free to stay here. Obviously, there's food, and we talked, and that's why we're doing the drive that we're doing.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the pin board down the hall, most of the pins are in Nebraska and Iowa, Kansas, people from a couple hundred miles away. Our next guest technically is from a couple thousand miles away, but has spent a lot of time in the Midwest. Rob is a guest here, originally from, say it again?
Norfolk, England.
Norfolk, England. But you ended up over here and have spent
30 years.
Probably as much more of your adult life here than in your home country?
Yeah, I'm 58 now, and I've been here 30 years this year.
As a pig farmer?
As a pig farmer. So
what brings a person over from England for pig farming?
Well, they actually were looking at the time for people with some expertise in outdoor pig farming. And I ended up here doing outdoor pig farming in Georgia for about a year. And one of the guys that came over with me, he ended up leaving, and he ended up moving to Colorado. And the company actually had pigs in Nebraska. And I actually ended up doing a midnight flight, jumping on an airplane in Atlanta, Georgia, and found myself in Omaha, Nebraska. Dark when I arrived, so I couldn't really see where I was, but they ended up taking me to Albion, Nebraska. And I lived one summer in the Dunes Motel in Albion, Nebraska, eating from the Casey's. They had good pizza back then as well.
Oh, yeah.
He knows about the pizza.
Yeah, I know about the pizza. And so, yeah, I had one summer there and, enjoyed my time there. So, and I know you're going to bring this up later, so I'm going to mention it now. After about 20 years, I got told that I should write some of the stories down that I'd had been experienced in the time I was here. So I actually self-published a book called Pigtails from Across the Pond. We have a copy of it here right now. And if you go to chapter 7, it tells you all about that. Chapter is actually called Big Red. And so I got to learn about the Huskers and Tom Osborne. I know it's football and not basketball.
That's right.
And I got to learn all about that. And I got to learn about the Nebraska culture, that you need to have a case of beer once you get off work, and worked on the pig farms, and life was good. So yeah.
Rob, when you first got here, how long were you planning on staying in America? I mean, I can't imagine you saw 3 decades here.
No, actually, my visa was for like 1 year. So, and after about a couple of months, you start to get a little homesick.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually you push through that wall of being in a new place, and all of a sudden this is more home than the UK, really. And actually, I'm a citizen now. I finally did that probably about 3 years ago, actually during COVID.
Oh.
So it was a masked up ceremony when it was done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's as much home now as it is in England.
But you were getting ready to go back home.
I was actually, the last winter I spent back in England for 6 months. And my father is 85 now, and he actually had prostate cancer. But he's doing well now. My mother is 82. And so I spent last winter back there, and I thought, well, I'll go back in this winter. I had a ticket to go on the 3rd of October. And I got working through the summer, and I was doing some part-time work at the Des Moines Country Club. On the golf course, getting up early and mowing and stuff, and started to get a bad back and started to get a little fatigued, and decided to go to the doctor. Went to the doctor. Next day, doctor calls. You need to get straight to the emergency room. Your renal system is shutting down, and you get straight down there. And within a week, found out I had multiple myeloma. after I had a biopsy. So I then had to make the choice, what do I do? So I stayed and got the chemo right through December, and the chemo went well. It certainly knocked the myeloma back.
Yeah.
And then it was like, right, well, you're a young guy still. So the next step is stem cell transplant. It's all of a sudden like, wow, stem cell transplant.
Yeah.
Do I do that here, or do I go back
home?
Yeah. And so there was multiple factors that really made me stay here, which was one, that I was already doing my treatment and just felt that if I carried on, I'd have the same doctors and everything. And I was referred to come over to, well, I could either go to Omaha, Iowa City, or up to the Mayo Clinic. I decided to come here to Omaha. I've got a couple of friends that live reasonably close. One lives in Lincoln, and the other lives up in West Point, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'll have a couple of people close to me,
Yeah.
but I have no caregivers, right? So that was one of the problems for me, is how do I get caregivers? Because typically you need to have a caregiver with you here at Hope Lodge. But Christy, the manager, was nice enough to work with me to get an exemption. So up until I go into hospital Monday, I've been able to stay here on my own. And my brother's actually flying over from England on the 9th of February. And so when I get out, I'll come back to Hope Lodge. And those are all things that you have to consider when you're making that decision on what you do, because once you've had your stem cell transplant, you're not going to be doing very much for a few weeks. So,
correct.
And this place, I come and took a look and checked it out. And
how long do you anticipate, if all goes as planned, how long do you think you'll be staying here at Hope Lodge? Do you know that yet?
Yeah. So right now, I go in on Monday and I should be back out again right before Valentine's, so probably about the 12th, 13th. And I'm actually checked in here through the 9th of March. So my brother's going to be out here until the 1st of March, and then I have another friend that's coming in. So yeah, right now I'll be back in here for about another 3 to 4 weeks when I get out of hospital.
Rob, I'm curious, about someone who doesn't know or knows very little about Hope Lodge. What was that process like as you're learning about it? And then what has the process been like since you've been here?
Well, the first thing you do is you go online and start Googling, because I had no idea what Hope Lodge was. I actually got the information about Hope Lodge from someone in Des Moines, and Googled it, looked at it, and actually called Christy and came out and took a look. And yeah, I didn't really know what to expect. It's like your world just changed at the flip of a switch.
Yeah.
And so, you come out and you don't know anybody, but I socialize pretty good. And the nice thing is, the staff here are great. I know them all by first name, I think, within the first 24 hours. And I've got it in my phone in case I forget. So you got that relationship with people and the people that you're in here with as well. It's like a little family. No one is scared to talk about cancer, because that's why we're here.
Right.
And that makes it easier.
Have that common bond.
Yeah. To be able to actually have a conversation and not be afraid of the word, and maybe not be afraid of what you're going through. So, and I've met a couple of people that have multiple myeloma as well. And so they become like inspirational to the process of what you're going to have to go through. So that has made it so much better, because if I'd have been in a hotel,
a
regular hotel, you're not.
Then you're literally staying by yourself.
You're not talking to people.
Yeah, you're literally staying by yourself.
So it's about people. It's about the people that work here and their passion for what they do, and the people that come here. Everybody wants the next person to get better.
Yeah, it really it's a community that they've really built here. It's like living in a neighborhood. It's just that it looks like a hotel a little bit. It's very clean, but there's the common kitchen area. We've talked about some of the other things there where you can get together with folks. All right, so your book, and Rob has brought a copy of his book, Pigtails from Across the Pond, that talks about his years here in America, pig farming. We're going to give this book away to the folks who donate online. One person, we'll pick one at random, who would like a copy of the book. If you donate here over the next, what are we talking about? Another hour or so? What do you think? About another hour or so? If we get any of the donations that come in online, we can monitor those at cancer.org/pinkout. And because Rob's going to be here for a little while, he'll be happy to autograph it for you. and probably tell you even more stories that probably aren't in the book. Are there stories that you can't tell that didn't make the book?
No, I got as risky as I could, really. There's a lot of play on words, right?
Yeah.
Between the American and the English, certain words that we use that you don't use.
Sure.
And there's a good story in
So
there.
there's a glossary, so we can kind of interpret what.
Yeah. It was pretty scary to me when I learned to line dance when I first got here from Georgia, and went and learned to line dance. And the first time you get asked whether you know how to shag was kind of pretty scary to an English guy. So I had to do a little Googling. I hope that you might have to censor that bit out.
No, we're fine.
Those kind of stories are in there.
That's awesome.
And this goes through 2011.
Okay.
So I probably have another sequel that needs
There
to be
we go.
written. And maybe after this, another 14 years.
Can folks buy the book?
Oh, yeah, you can
Where can
go
they buy
online. You just go online and Google the name of the book. It'll come up.
Pigtails from Across the Pond.
Yeah, and I think I've sold about 15 copies so far. So if I sell another 2 today, I'm going to be doing good. So it was a self-published book. I literally, when I did it as a self-published book, you get given 50 copies. And I was actually telling Christy about that. So when I went back to England, I actually I did some talks at different events, and we actually auctioned some of the books off.
Very
and,
cool.
And all that money went to cancer research in the UK. So it's a non-profit book, right? But
Yeah.
in an occasion like this, anyone that wants to go out and buy one and bring one in, I'll sign it as well while I'm here.
Absolutely. Pigtails from Across the Pond. Google it, folks.
Yeah.
Pigtails from Across the Pond. Robert Drew is the author. Rob is our guest here, who is a guest at Hope Lodge.
I got something for him.
Yeah.
Because he mentioned they call it football. We call it soccer.
Yeah.
He mentioned that off the air. What
That's
did you
true.
think of the Jurgen Klopp news that came in earlier today?
Yeah. You know what? He's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, any coach that can hang his hat up before the season's over tells you that he wants to do it at the right time. And I think Liverpool are going to win something this year. I'm a big Arsenal fan, have been for 50 years now,
Okay.
right?
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think he's made a good move because I think Liverpool will win something. And
Yeah.
you're already made the announcement, right? And so, hey, you know what? It might give us a better chance maybe to win next year.
As a English soccer fan, I mean, you pretty much can get every match you want to see, right?
In this country.
Yes.
It's a lot different over there, right?
And that was the big thing, right? Because like over here, you guys have really started to embrace soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I see kids playing it was actually in Albion, Nebraska. And it was in 1994. And the coaches had lined the kids up like they were kicking off in an American football game. They weren't in a formation like a proper soccer game. And I'm like, these guys need some help. So I actually coached kids soccer for like about 10 years.
Really?
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. So I coached the kids soccer over here, and the sport's really grown.
Yeah.
I did a little work actually in Colorado Springs for the Switchbacks, which is
Okay.
the USL team out of the Springs. And and you've got the World Cup coming here pretty soon as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
We do.
So,
Oh, yeah.
And they announced yesterday we're building a new soccer stadium
Yeah.
here in town for our USL team.
and the best thing is like being an Englishman watching soccer over here, you very rarely get anyone tell you the result of the game. So I can record like 10 games and not worry about someone coming up and
Spoiling you?
telling you all the scores.
You go to the grocery store, you're not going to worry about
No.
hearing the score somewhere.
No,
Yeah.
you don't need to worry about the score. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so soccer, cricket, and rugby were the games that I really grew up with in England. So, and I embraced all the sports that you have over here at some point. I was in Denver when the Broncos were doing good with Elway, and I watched Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah.
I'll throw a little bit of basketball knowledge out there. Right?
Nice. I like it.
And watch the Rockies and stuff. And then when I went to North Carolina, I think their ice hockey team won the Stanley Cup as well. So I've enjoyed all the American sports, but you always gravitate back to what you.
Absolutely.
And so it's got back to soccer for me now for football.
That's Rob Pigtails from Across the Pond. If you want to find out more, and we'll take donation. Well, we're taking donations all the time, but over the next hour or so, we'll pick one of those online donations at random. Cancer.org/pinkout. Rob, good luck in your fight.
Yes.
Congratulations on the success with your book. I know it will have a success. And best wishes to you as you continue on here in our great country.
Well, I want to thank you guys and the opportunity to come on today, and thank everyone at Hope Lodge. I've only been here for 10 days now, but they're going to have to put up me well, and I'm not going to be quite at my best maybe when I come back, but so far so good, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Rob.
That is Rob, a guest here at Hope Lodge, Nebraska. Again, cancer.org/pinkout, cancer.org/pinkout. Please remember, and donations up to $30,000 will be matched this weekend by Nebraska Cancer Specialists.